Okay, I'm going to do a quick video today on how to keep your files backed up and synchronized across different computers using Dropbox, and then how to keep them encrypted at the same time using TrueCrypt. And the idea behind this is that if you're the type of person who works on a home computer and a work computer and maybe a laptop as well, if you don't want to use a USB key or something similar to keep your files in sync, you can use Dropbox, which is a program that's really simple to use, automatically backs up all your files and keeps them synchronized to the latest versions on all your computers. Also, if you have confidential documents that you don't like the idea of keeping them backed up to a server in their open form, you can use TrueCrypt to keep them encrypted so that nobody will be able to access them except you when you log onto your computer. So the first thing we want to do is to go on to www.dropbox.com, and you'll see it here. And Dropbox works on Windows and Mac and Linux, and also on mobile phones. And you download the Dropbox client by clicking here, and once you download it, just as normal for a Windows program, I'm just going to save it, and then once you've saved it, you'll install it and go through the install process. Now, I have Dropbox already installed on my computer, so I don't have to do it, but there are no major options that you have to select. All you need to do is to select the default options. It will ask you to create an account so that you can use Dropbox on more than one computer, but other than that you don't have to do anything special. And when you install Dropbox, what will happen is you will have in your My Documents folder, if you're in Windows, or in another folder if you're in Mac or Linux, you will have a folder called My Dropbox. So it'll be in My Documents or Documents and My Dropbox, and anything that you drop into this folder, you'll see these little green arrows, will be automatically backed up online every time you save the file. And then if you have Dropbox on another computer, every time you turn on that computer, the latest version will automatically be synced. And the great thing about this is that you can keep all of the files in the folder. You don't have to move them in and out, and all you have to do is press save on the file as normal. Once the file is saved and you stop using it, Dropbox will automatically upload the latest version to your backup and then keep it there for when you turn on your other computer so it can synchronize. So it's really simple to use, and it really helps with backups. Get 2 gig in the free version, so 2 gigabytes of storage, which is more than enough for most people for documents. And then if you want to pay, which I do, you get the professional version. And what's great about Dropbox while you're using it is you can see at the bottom right of the screen this little Dropbox icon. When a file is changed in your Dropbox folder, so if you edit a document or if you put in a new folder or a new file into Dropbox, you'll see a little swirly icon which will tell you that the folder's been synced. And once it is synced, and if everything's okay, you'll see this little green tick. And also if you right click on it, you can see things like recently changed files, so you can go into your Dropbox folder straight away, or you can launch the Dropbox website from the application and it will actually log you in, and you'll see the web-based folder system here. So I can actually go into all my folders from here, and I could do this even if I was on a completely different computer that wasn't mine. I could just log into the Dropbox website, I would see this, and then I could get a file if I needed it, even if I wasn't on my own computer. So as a backup service, it's amazing because it also, even if you delete a file, keeps them there in case you want to bring them back later on. And there are also different versions, so if I was to pick a file that I had edited, I could right click on it and view the different versions of the file that I had, and every time I press save, a different version will be created, but Dropbox keeps those versions. So if I was to go back on this file, for example, I can view the previous versions just by clicking this option, and it would give me, well, this only has one version, but if it had more, if I'd saved it more than once, I'd see a list here, and I could go back in time just in case I edited it and made a mistake that I wanted to go back to an earlier version. So that's Dropbox, and all you have to do is install it on the computer, give it your email address, make a password, do it on any computer that you work on, and all of your files will automatically be synchronized between them. You don't have to do anything else except that. And the only thing to remember is when you finish editing your files, before you turn off your computer, just make sure you see this green tick so that you know the latest version has been backed up, and that way you won't get any conflicts if you've got one version that's not backed up here and another version that's not backed up on your laptop, and the two of them meet when you switch your computers on. You'll see a conflict and Dropbox won't know what to do with it, and it'll make two files instead. So make sure that it's backed up and synced fully, and it'll work really simply. Now what if you want to use the backup but you also want to keep confidential files there, the type of files that nobody else is allowed to see, including maybe the guys at the Dropbox website, although they don't look at your files. You want to keep them secure and safe. Well, what you can do is go to TrueCrypt, if I spell it right. There we go. Okay, truecrypt.org, and download this program. Okay, so the latest version for Windows, for Mac or for Linux, and you download it and install it just like a normal program. Now importantly about Dropbox and TrueCrypt is to get them to work properly you need administrator rights. So for example on my work computer I had to ask the administrator to install them so that they would work well. But at home you obviously will have administrator rights to your own computer, so that won't be a problem. So it installs just like any other program. I don't need to go through the install process. What we do need to get to is what happens when you first install. And when you first install, what you'll see is this window here. And the idea behind TrueCrypt is you create a container which is like a file of a certain size that you decide, but it's empty. So imagine you create an empty 1 gig file, and inside that file or that container you can drop other files, but it can only be opened with a password. So you create the container is like a box that can only be opened with your password, but other than with your password it's completely encrypted and nobody else can access it. So what we want to do is we want to create an encrypted file container and put it in our Dropbox. So we have an encrypted container that's synchronized between all our computers, and then we can put our work files in there. So we create an encrypted file container, press next. We want a standard TrueCrypt volume, so it gives you options between the standard volume and a hidden volume, which would be invisible. Now if you need super secrecy you could make a hidden volume, but we don't need super secrecy, we just need a volume that nobody else can access. So I'm going to keep it as standard, and you decide where you're going to put it. So let's select the place, and I'm just going to put it in my documents. Now this is what I was talking about earlier on, is what you want to do is put it inside your Dropbox, so that when it's created it automatically gets synced with all your other computers, and I'm going to call it work files, and that's where my work files are going to go, and I already have one there. Okay, so that's where I'm going to put it. I press next, and the encryption algorithm is not something that we necessarily need to worry too much about. There are different types of ways that TrueCrypt can encrypt the container, but to be honest they're all very secure, and you don't need to worry too much if it's just standard confidential documents. Which one you choose, you can feel free to read up on the information here if you want, but you can trust the standard encryption. Now the volume size, let's say for now I'm just going to make a 1 megabyte file, but if you want yourself to back up your work files you might want to make something a bit substantial. So imagine that your flash drive, your standard flash drive is about 2 or 4 gigs or 8 gigs, so you might want to make something equivalent, maybe a 4 gig file that you can then drop other files into. I'm just going to make a 1 megabyte file just to test, and press next, and I'm going to make a really secure password. Now this is the password that you use to open your encrypted container, so you need to remember it, because if you forget it you can't actually open the container again. Now because I haven't picked a really long password, it's going to warn me that it's insecure, but it's okay for now because I'm just going to use it for a test. Now what this does here is, as I move my mouse, it randomizes the encryption on the folder. So I'm just going to move my mouse around a little bit. I'm going to keep the file system as standard. FAT format is one you can use with almost all operating systems, and it's what most flash drives use, so keep it there. I'm going to move it around a bit, and when I'm happy that I've moved it around the mouse enough, I press format, and now my volume is being successfully created. Now once this is done, I can exit because I don't need to create another one. Now how TrueCrypt works is, you've created your empty container, but in order for you to put files into it to keep them safe, you need to mount it. And all that means is, in the same way that you insert a flash drive into your computer and Windows gives it a drive letter like E or F or G, our TrueCrypt volume will have a drive letter in the same style and will be treated as if it were a removable drive. If you're not sure what that means, you'll see it in a second. It's quite straightforward. What I want to do is pick the container that I created a second ago. So I'm going to go back into my Dropbox and I'm going to look for, okay, my Dropbox is in a particular place that I put it. Okay, so I'm going to look for work files, and you can see the date. That's the one I just created a couple of minutes ago. I'm going to press open, and what I want to do is pick a drive letter. So I can mount it on any drive letter that I want. It doesn't really matter, because I have a CD drive and a flash drive and something else. It starts at G and goes to L, M, N, O, P. It doesn't actually matter which one you use. And I'm going to press mount. Now I'm going to enter in the password and press OK. What will happen is, if I go to my computer, which is where most people look for their flash drives and other drives they've inserted, I will see a new drive here called G, which is the same place that I've mounted my encrypted folder. So I can work with this folder as if it were a flash drive. I can drop files in, I can open them straight from there, I can edit them, and then I can just press save. And then when I'm finished working, I close it, I go back to this list of drives, and I unmount or dismount the file. And when I've dismounted it, Dropbox will automatically sync it, and then it'll be available on my other computer and also backed up to the cloud. But importantly, it will be secure and nobody else will be able to see what's in the folder, because with a TrueCrypt container, even if you can see it there, you can't actually open it without the TrueCrypt program and without the password. Okay, and the important thing you have to remember with this is, unlike your normal files where you press save and Dropbox automatically syncs them, it won't sync your TrueCrypt container until you save it and close it and dismount it. And when you dismount it, then you'll see Dropbox syncing it and it will go into your backup storage. Okay, I hope that was helpful. That was my first video. If you've got any suggestions for improvements or any more information about this topic, feel free to ask.